Hello and welcome. It's time for episode 12 of the Magnus Protocol. Magnus Protocol is back week to week. It feels great, but there's a couple quick things we need to tackle before we get into this new episode. The first one being that a lot of people pointed this out, and I just missed it, apparently. But whenever somebody obviously lies, when we know better, Freddy makes a chime. There's a little small noise, and I wish I had caught that sooner. I wish I'd noticed it sooner, because it makes me want to go back through all the previous episodes and check. And then last episode, I guess I just missed it when I was reading the transcript and listening to the episode, but Oscar Jarrett is apparently another tattoo artist. It is an Oscar Jarrett, not it is an Oscar Jarrett as in this is the person. So just a couple little quick things. Thanks as always for the comments, for pointing out, because it really does help, especially with the theorizing, to know the things that I missed. So thank you so much. But let's get into episode 12, Getting Off. So we have our case number, which is CAT 1RB 4728-090 32024-1303224. And this is Mascot Kids Frenzy Insurance Claim. So, all right, let's talk about this one. This is a Mr. Bonzo episode, right? And we knew it was coming from what Lena had told Gwen, right? We knew it was coming. This is a really rough episode. It's a really good episode. Don't misunderstand me. It's written very well. It's rough in the grisliness of it, right? This is grislier than a lot of what Archives got in some ways, because we get a pretty good description of how Bonzo kills a man. But before we get into that, Sam asked Celia out. You know, good on them. It seems like it's going to work out. There was a hum that came up when Celia was, you know, talking about how maybe she'd had some stuff she had to take care of first. And I thought it might have been like the chime, though we do get the chime later. But pretty sure it was just the tea brewing. But it also is pretty cool that Sam has his own, like, personal tea stash. Look, I've worked in communal break rooms or with communal break rooms. Sometimes people just take your lunch, man. You gotta be careful where you put your stuff. So I don't blame him one bit. But when Alice comes in and is teasing Sam about asking Celia out. Also, Celia seems very tired. Just wanted to mention that real quick. I feel like whatever's going on with her and where she's waking up has to do with her sleeping. And so she's probably avoiding sleeping. But we'll see. There's a lot more to come with that, I'm sure. But when Alice is teasing him, Sam has like a really good moment with Alice and says, you know, well, I'm done with all the Magnus stuff. And when he says that, we get the chime from Freddy, which tells us that was a lie. So it's definitely something we need to be watching for. And thanks again to the commenters from last episode that pointed it out. There were quite a few of you, and so I'm not going to name off everybody, but I really do appreciate it. But from there, we get to the claim review. And this is the real, like, bulk of the episode, right? Everything else is good, character-moving stuff. But this is the big stuff. This is Soho Jack's Gentleman Club. And I feel like the first assumption that a lot of people are going to make, it's the first assumption that I made, is that the order that Gwen took to Bonzo would have been for this groom. And it is possible, but I don't think that's the case, and I'll explain why in a little bit. I think actually the order that Gwen brought to Mr. Bonzo is for Jordan Bennett that put in this claim because she's seen Bonzo. But Jordan Bennett, the bartender of this gentleman's club, the group of guys has come in, you know, to have a big stag do and to have a good time. And in among all the gifts is a lunchbox. And it's really telling. This is why I said earlier, like, it's really well told. Because it's really telling the way that the mood shifts in the room. Of people nobody seemed to know where it came from, but the groom was excited for it. And then once he opened it up and started pulling out Bonzo merch, everybody got excited for it. I don't personally believe anybody brought that lunchbox, right? I think it's an anomalous object. I think it's tied to Bonzo. I think it's how he hunts. I think it's how he kills. Is the lunchbox will show up or some other memorabilia will show up. Because we had some mentions before of they had to stop selling merch for Mr. Bonzo. And I took it at the time as like, oh, well, they had to stop selling merch because, you know, people were mad about the Bonzo murders. But I'm wondering if instead they had to stop selling merch because that's how Bonzo was showing up. So either way, the merch is there. And when they get the CD and they play the CD, it plays on every speaker, and that includes the radio. So it's definitely anomalous in some form there. It's supernatural. I love the idea that as soon as the CD starts playing, it just takes over every speaker of any kind. So that would include like cell phones, just anything. But Bonzo apparently eats the guy guarding the door, Joey, busts through the wall. Everybody's all excited to see him. It's a big party. You know, Mr. Bonzo is on his way. He wants to stay. He wants to play. And then Bonzo spins the groom around, rips his arms off, and eats him. And there's a really, really good moment here that I think is very important for the future, right? Where Jordan Bennett, not a part of the stag do, was not entranced by the song, was not excited by everything going on. She screams. And it seems like when Jordan screams, Jordan, who is not a part of anything going on here and is just witness to it, that it breaks whatever spell was going on with the rest of the party, with the rest of the stag do. And they all get like angry or scared or shocked, and they all snap out of it. It feels like if Jordan hadn't been there, then Bonzo would have been able to just clean through it, right? And I could be wrong on Jordan being referred to as she. That might not be the right pronoun here, but the form is filed by Miss Jordan Bennett, so I assumed that's right. If I'm wrong, please let me know. I don't like getting that stuff wrong. But Jordan panics. Everybody else attacks or runs, and Bonzo just doesn't care. One of his polka dots is like cut open, and it just like spews stuff. Just doesn't care at all. And Jordan says that they dream at night of Bonzo coming to get them, basically. And the just horrifying image of there being less and less people to block the way. People that are getting partially eaten as well, right? People that are getting devoured in some aspects. And Jordan only loses a hand. What I don't know is why Bonzo left. Did Bonzo get full? What I do know is the horrifying line of, but I do know why they couldn't find the bodies. And the fact that the claim gets rejected. Jordan just out of luck. Lost a hand. Lost the job. Lost everything. Just a bad time. And probably is dead now. Because my theory is that Gwen's order that was sent through Lena to Bonzo was to kill Jordan. Because Jordan had put in the claim. And that way it would tie up all the loose ends. Right? At the end of the episode here, we have actually kind of a tense moment where Gwen is about to break in shock from what she's just heard and tries to tell Alice. And thankfully Alice is still Alice, because I feel like if Alice had found out too much, she would have gotten shot like Klaus. But thankfully Alice snarks, and it's enough to pull Gwen out of it, because Gwen has got to be careful. She's walking a very small, thin tightrope here, and she doesn't trust what's going on anymore. She's shocked. That's clear. It's understandable. But also, you can't just let that stuff slip. So, this episode, in many ways, felt really short. So, the review is kind of short, too. But I also think this is some of the most visceral that we've ever had an avatar, because I don't know if that's the right term still, right, of an entity, because this might not even be an avatar. This might be a sub-entity, right? Sub-entity. Man, we're making up phrases now trying to make sense of it all, because I feel like Bonzo, it feels to me like he's an aspect of the flesh, but it doesn't feel like he's just an avatar, right? This feels like it's a creature. And so Bonzo is definitely something, and it feels a lot like Jane Prentice was an avatar of the corruption, right? But this feels a lot like when the Not Them was hunting. It's not just an avatar, it's an aspect, it's a part of the entity. But is it just flesh, or is it something else? Is it the stranger? Is it that because it's a mascot and not human? I don't think so. I think it's definitely flesh themed, flesh coated, maybe. But flesh coated. I didn't like what my brain did there. No, Bonzo is something different in my mind, and I very much could be wrong, but I think between Needles and Bonzo, we have a really interesting dichotomy of what our villains could look like here, and I'm excited to see more. I actually think we'll probably get another Bonzo statement within the next, 5 or 6, but maybe just to throw off the scent of who for sure Bonzo was going after. But I am enamored by this idea of the CD called him there, but he sent the lunchbox early, and what other items could do the same thing. You know, we know that there are other objects that have power to be able to call in things, and so what else could it be? I'm excited. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been The Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum of Magnus Protocol.